Hello, Washington Middle School parents and families. I'm Mr. Goldstein, and I'm teaching 6th, 7th, and 8th grade orchestra this year at Washington Middle School. Just a little bit about me. I, of course, graduated from the University of Puget Sound and then went on to study at the Chicago College of Performing Arts. And more importantly, I was a long time ago a student at Washington Middle School. So I know of the long and great history of this orchestra program, and I'm very honored to be here. Very happy to be here making music with your kids. Just because this is something that the students always ask, I'll tell you guys as well. I'm a violist, so I'm a viola player. But of course, being an orchestra teacher, I've had plenty of experience on all of the string instruments that we learn and play in class. So what do we do in orchestra? Well, we're very excited this year to go back to in-person rehearsals. That's something that a lot of students and a lot of teachers like myself have missed. So things are looking a little bit more normal, but of course, we still have many safety precautions in place. The students will still be separated by at least 3 feet. Students will still each have their own stand. And that actually means that it's even more important for students to remember to bring their orchestra folder every single day, because they can't rely on a stand partner like in the old days to remember it. So it is very important. That's one of the big responsibilities we have for orchestra class, is bringing your folder to and from school. For what kind of content we go over in orchestra class, we focus a lot on instrumental technique. So building the skills on the various instruments in orchestra. Of course, we work on tuning. We always have to work on tuning. Many bowing skills, the development of the right hand. And this is, I put vibrato on there because vibrato is something that students often really want to learn at this level. So definitely at the end of 6th grade and 7th and 8th grade, we work on vibrato. That is the movement in the left hand. It really makes the music come alive once the students are able to learn that technique. So it's a great thing to start. We also, of course, focus on music literacy. So music as kind of a language, right? We're learning the note names, the musical terminology they find in the music, all the different symbols to be able to play the music that the students see in front of them. And, my hope for this is not just for them to be able to play the music I give them, but for them to be able to go off and find whatever music they really like, and they're able to read, decipher, and perform it from that. So I think music literacy is a really important skill so kids can not just learn the music in class, but any music that they enjoy. And of course, we work on rehearsal technique. Our main vessel for learning in orchestra class is playing as a large group, as an activity. That's one of the really special things we get to do in orchestra. So working on rehearsal technique, knowing when to play, when not to play, all that sort of stuff, very important. And really, we spend a lot of class time learning those things, and then through rehearsing, we can apply the instrumental technique and the music literacy. And of course, the most exciting thing we do in orchestra is we get to perform, and we're very excited to have the ability to do some concerts this year. Things may look a little different, but we will be able to safely perform for an audience, which is very exciting. So everyone always asks about grading, of course. This grading system is how I think it is almost always been at Washington Middle School, split into 25%. So the first 25% I'll talk about is, of course, the concerts, making sure the students arrive early as long as they have the proper concert attire, which we'll go over in just a sec, and they are able and on good behavior during the concerts. That is 25% of the grade. Of course, if there's any very emergency situations that causes a student to miss a concert, you just have to let me know. And of course, we can figure out other ways to get that concert grade if something like that happens. Practice sheets are, in a way, the students' homework for orchestra. So every Monday they turn in a practice chart. And this is to track their practicing outside of orchestra. Because of course, when you're playing a musical instrument, the practicing outside is one of the many ways you're able to build the skills we go over in class. So that's very, very important. It's due every Monday and requires a parental signature of some sort. So 25% of participation in daily grades. This is just students having all their materials when they come to class and having a good attitude and being willing to learn, okay? So this is something that the student shouldn't be worrying about, or, really all of the students are happy and glad to be in orchestra. So that's not that much to worry about as long as students come in with a good attitude. And then the 25% playing and written tests, these are mostly be playing tests of the music or kind of etudes or excerpts that we're working on in the classroom. And they're normally done, of course, in class. This is when the student plays by themselves. And I give feedback, not out loud, but on a piece of paper to the student. And I always try to say the things they're doing well, because there's always stuff they're doing well, and the things that can be improved, because there's always stuff that can be improved. Really trying to have this growth mindset in regard to not just the playing tests, but just the entire process of learning the instrument. So I was talking before about performances, and we do get to have some performances this year. The most important one is our first concert, which will be Thursday, November 18th at 7 p.m. in our own WMS gym. That will just provide us the space to really be able to have a safe concert with everyone there. You might notice that this summer concert has not yet been scheduled, the one in probably early June. We are seeing how things go throughout the year, and hopefully we can add some more concerts. If a concert schedule changes in any way, I'm going to let everyone know as ahead of time as possible, so we can make sure that students can make it to the concert. So thank you for being patient during this time. I'm really hoping that as the year goes on, things will get more and more normal, and we can do more and more concerts like before. So even though we are mainly in person this year, I still have a Schoology page for all of my orchestras for 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. This is a really, really important place to go if a student ever, needs an extra piece of some of the music we're working on in class or whatever kind of worksheet we're doing. I try to put all the papers I give students into Schoology. So no matter where they are, if they forgot their music, they can still practice with Schoology. If they lost their practice chart, they can print out a new one in Schoology. And also Schoology has the most up-to-date syllabus. So if anything ever change in the syllabus, like the performance schedule, that'll all be in Schoology as well. If I ever change a concert schedule though, I will also email the parents. So Schoology is still around and still important this year. So I think it's important to talk about how, as parents and guardians, we can help our string students. So a couple things that can really, really help the student foster and grow throughout the school year. The first thing is having a good place for that student to practice, a place that has the space for the student to be able to play. A music stand, if you have a music stand at home, would be great, something that they can actually prop their music up on, and having a place that is free of any kind of distractions or loud noises so they can focus. It is really their homework for this class, even though it looks different than like their math homework or their science homework. So it is important they have a good space to do that. With time, listening and, always encourage your music students. Learning an instrument is very, very difficult. It can be very, very frustrating. Anything you can do to learn more about what they're doing, have them share that with you, I think is always great, really. Helping with planning, at the middle school level, students are just starting to develop all these skills with planning and thinking ahead and all that. So any way you can help them in this process, the better, especially for things like concerts, making sure they don't forget their music, a reminder every once in a while, making sure they always bring their instrument to school. Things like that can be very, very helpful. And of course, this kind of ties into time, but this communication, always, wondering, well, what did you guys do in orchestra today? Or like, what music are you learning? These things can really, really help develop the student. So I appreciate all of you, because I know Washington Middle School has a long history of parents doing all of these things and more. So I'm very, very happy to see that again this year. I also want to talk about extra opportunities Of course, none of these are required, but I know a lot of string students at Washington Middle School like to do extra things outside of class. The first one, of course, is the Junior All-State Orchestra. This is something that the student records after school with me, and then I send it in to the chance for the student to go play in an orchestra of all the other selected Junior All-State students in the spring. So it's a very cool opportunity. The students already have the music for this, but of course it is completely optional. The other thing is the solo ensemble contest that happens every year. This is when students that are working on a piece just for them, or in a small ensemble, like a string quartet or a trio or something, they can go play and they can receive feedback from really some great artists in the area. It's a really great opportunity. Of course, this is also optional. SOGO and TYS are both youth orchestras in the area. I actually work for SOGO. I'm the orchestra director for their debut orchestra. So if a student wants to do SOGO, they might end up in my orchestra, and I'll see them every Sunday as well, which would be great. And then Tacoma Youth Symphony, TYS, is another big youth orchestra up in Tacoma, and they have a lot of really great programs and stuff up there. So that's another thing to check out. Private lessons is probably, if I had a student come up to me and ask what's something they can do to get better in orchestra, if they want to do something extra and they're able to do that, what's the one thing I'd recommend the most? And that would definitely be a private teacher. There's a ton of great private teachers in the Olympia area. I have a list on my door. It's actually right over there. And I can provide any student as long as they ask. You know, if they ask, I can give this to them. And I highly recommend, if that's something that's possible, to study with a private teacher. Of course, you don't need to succeed in orchestra, not at all. And I try to make myself available after school to kind of provide that one-on-one help with students whenever they need. I just ask that they just let me know a day in advance that they're planning on stopping by after school, and we can go over things kind of like what would happen in a private lesson. If they need any extra help or any extra questions, or if they have something new that they want to show me. And of course, Olympia is a great place for community concerts. There's the Olympia Symphony. I've played viola in Olympia Symphony many times. It's a wonderful group. The South Puget Sound Community College Orchestra is another one. Olympia has a lot of really good arts events in general, like Arts Walk. So there's really a lot of things going on. It's a great place to be musically. Okay. Thank you everyone for listening to this presentation. I wanted to put my email here. If you have any questions about orchestra, about something that I said in this video or something that maybe I didn't say in this video, please feel free to email me. I'll try to respond as quickly as I possibly can. I'm really honored to work with all your students this year, and I know it's going to be a great year with lots of great music. So thank you, everybody.